Hey there everyone, welcome to Wreaths by Marguerite. My name is Marguerite. Today on my channel I'm going to show you how I make a religious wreath for my shop. This is not a kit, it's simply more designs I'm adding to my shop. I have a show coming up, so I wanted to do some more. This particular market, the religious wreaths sell really well, so follow along and you will see how I put this together. Let's do this. Okay, so let's go over the supplies just real quick, keeping in mind this is not a kit. This is something for my shop. I've got a sign that is a round 11-inch round on a wood base. I've already put cable tie mounts on the back because this isn't thick enough to use staples on, so I have cable tie mounts with super glue under the mount and hot glue around the edge. Okay, I just need to put a couple of pipe cleaners on that, and I'll do that as soon as I go through these supplies. I have, let me turn that over so it doesn't get scratched. I have 12 pieces of 10-inch mesh, so I'm 10-inch this way, cut it 20 inches in length. I have a base, a 4-ring base with 6 crossbars. That's necessary to do the pancake technique. With 12 individual pipe cleaners on it, 6 on the outside rings where the crossbars are. And I'm pulling them out on the outside because that's what I'm going to work on first. And then the other 6 are on the inside 2 rings in between each of the crossbars. So, let's set that out of the way for a second. This is what the mesh and the ribbon is going to look like when it's on the frame. I often do a sample just to make sure I like what I put together and make sure it goes well with the sign. And then I have 12 bundles of ribbon. I've chosen to go with this ivory and beige pattern, kind of a sage green, and then the deep royal purple. Those colors all are present in the sign. You use the colors in your sign to match up with your ribbon so everything coordinates. You've got the green and the beige and the mesh. Everything comes together. So I've already pre-cut everything. They've already received their dovetails. The dovetail is that cute little V at the end. If you'd like to see more on how to do that, go back and follow some of the tutorials that I have for wreath kits and you'll see how that's done. I chose all 2.5-inch wide ribbon. That gives it a fuller coverage over the mesh. Even though the mesh is really pretty, the mesh is really just your base to lift up your ribbon in the wreath. But not too much in this style because it's designed to fit between a storm door and a screen door. So we're keeping this wreath in particular under 4 inches deep. That's why all these pieces and products are made the way they are and cut and prepped. So there's 12 twist ties, 12 pieces of mesh, 12 pieces of each of the 3 ribbons. You can use 2 or 3 ribbons, it's up to you. And they're all cut at 12 inches. So there's a really common theme there. 12, 12, 12, and 12. Okay. So let's go ahead and set the sample aside for the minute. I won't put that one on right away. First thing I want to do is I want to put the pipe cleaners on the back so that we can feed them through the wreath. And it's just 2 pipe cleaners cut in half. Like that. And then we just feed them through the cable tie mounts. The reason we use cable tie mounts is because the sign is not thick enough, which I already indicated. Your sign needs to be at least 1/4 of an inch thick in order to put staples through it without it going through the front. So since this is not quite that deep, I didn't want to take a chance with such a beautiful sign of it going through. You also want to use the cable tie mounts when you're using a metal sign. You can take a hole punch, a jewelry hole punch, and punch holes in the sign, but I try to avoid that as much as possible. Most of the time the ribbon tails on the wreath will cover any holes and wire you use to hold the sign on if you do punch holes through the sign. But I just like the more finished look with this. If you're using a round sign or a 12 by 8 sign or 12 by 6 sign, you can just have the holes in the metal sign And just make sure they're placed at 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. And you can make sure that they go in, the holes go through the pipe cleaners at those positions. So you've got these two and these two, or at least this and this. So if you have a hole in the top and a hole in the bottom and a metal sign, you can just nestle them in before you put the ribbon on the top layer. So that's done and ready to go. I'm going to sit that back up at the top edge of the table so it's out of the way. And it wouldn't hurt to put something over it so you don't accidentally scratch it in the process of making the rest of the wreath. So I'm going to get my chip clip. I use this as a tool to help me find the center on my mesh, so I make sure that I'm gathering it up the center correctly. Right there like that. But this is a pattern mesh, so I don't necessarily need the clip. The reason I still use it is because we always put our mesh curl side down, and that helps to hold it flat, especially when we get into the pieces of mesh that are at the bottom, or I mean the inside of this, because they're tighter because of where they were on the roll, and it's going to curl up. You'll see that when we get there. So first things first, we're going to use the mesh on the outside edge. So I'm going to take the 6 pipe cleaners and move them around directly in front of me instead of reaching across the table and stretching out and straining myself, my back. I'm getting them all ready for placing the mesh into the frame. Okay, that's important because you almost need 3 hands if you're trying to open it up as you're trying to put it in, and you'll see what I mean in a second if you don't know already. So I'm going to put my thumbs on the outside of the mesh and start gathering up the center. The chip clip also serves as a point of reference so that I do stay in the middle of the mesh, so you get an even amount on each side of the center. But it's also a lot easier when you're using the pattern mesh to do that. Then I hold my hand loosely, my fingers, so that I can line up the outer edges to make a perfect circle. Then I'm going to bring the frame over to me, and the pipe cleaner I'm working on is going to be directly in front of me. And I'm going to put that mesh in there centered and bring the pipe cleaners up. And I'm going to do a tight twist and low, and 1 or 2 more times after that. That helps it stay closer to the frame and shorter in depth. Then I'm going to take those outside cut edges over the inside cut edges. I do it that way because then all of the cut edges are secluded, and when you get the top layer mesh on, it's going to cover all of this. So none of the cut edges are going to be exposed, which minimizes the fray. And then I also do every other one to give it a nice pattern in the mesh. You can just go all the way around and do it that way, but this is what I do because I like the way 3 sit on top of the other 3. Just looks like it's got more going on, more style. So just simply ruffling it up the center, getting to the top, pulling that clip off, holding it my thumb and forefinger, and then coming over here. That was lined up on the edges, so I didn't have to make any adjustments. You can still make adjustments in the frame, but the more you do before you put it in the frame, the better. This is a pretty thick mesh, so it's going to be a little bit thicker. You'll notice every once in a while you'll see me push down on it like that. That's to help, you know, make it not quite as deep. And you always hold on to the pipe cleaner if you need to adjust the outside edges to make sure that they're even. And I forgot over here to lift them up in the air to get them out of the way till I'm ready for them. So see, I'm holding it by the pipe cleaner, and then I'm pulling it right next to the pipe cleaner. So I didn't do the 3rd twist, and this is what happens. It untwisted. So what was I saying? You never grab the mesh from the outside edge because that changed this pattern. The threads will end up wavy. I mean, if you don't care, that's fine. The inside is not seen, but you want to make sure you've got a perfect circle on the outside as well as no disruptions to the design. I use the edge of the table to help unroll my mesh whenever possible, whenever I remember, because it's always curl side down. We're gathering it all in. There's 2 different techniques I use for gathering it. You'll see that in the tutorials for the DIY kits. I mix it up when I'm creating just for my shop because nothing's more monotonous than doing the exact same thing over and over again. There's sometimes when it's absolutely necessary, but not always. You have to find what the best method is for you. There's basic guidelines on how to do this. After that, you can certainly change things up and make them your own. It's your project. You do what you want ultimately. I'm making these in anticipation of selling them. In just a few weeks, I'm doing a spring show locally. And wreaths that are religious tend to do really well, especially in the market I'm going into. So I'm planning to have 3 different wreaths that are of the religious style theme. They will be listed in my shop on Etsy if you'd like to take a look at them if they haven't sold by the time the tutorials and the YouTube videos come out. I do not hold back my product just because a video's not out yet. Usually I can make more if I don't have more. Obviously with the kits I can absolutely make more. That one is pointy out there, so I'm going to grab up here towards the base of the pipe cleaner and bring it in and make it a little bit more circular. And this is the second group of 3. See how that settles just on top of that nicely? Okay, we got 2 more on this layer, and then we get to play with the ribbon. I always recommend to wear short sleeves when you're working with the mesh and something that's not new as far as clothing, because this stuff is like Velcro, like Velcro, like Velcro. It sticks to anything and everything, and if you're wearing something nice, it'd be shocking if you came out of a project without snags in it. So either wear something old or wear an apron that can protect your clothing. Oh, this one I didn't spread out. Short sleeves are always the best because you don't have to worry about your sleeves getting caught either. Worst case scenario, if you have long sleeves on, just make sure you roll them up a lot so they're above your elbow so you're not getting it stuck. I particularly am enjoying this project because for those that know me and that follow my shop, there's a common theme in my shop. My business cards, my clothing, my aprons, everything's purple. Even my chip clip's purple. I have other colors, but it's my favorite. So I'm just gathering it at the end. Some people just take the time to fold it accordion-like. You can do that too, so you have consistent ruffles. I ain't got no time for that. I don't think that it makes much difference in how it looks. But if that's what you want to do, by all means do it. It's easier with this mesh because it's thicker, bulkier than some of the thinner meshes. Or if you're making it for yourself, it just really depends on what your situation is. Again, comes back to you do you. Tight and low, I pushed them. Did I push the other ones down? I'm going to push those down a little bit too. Make sure I didn't forget and get this last one with the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. And there we go. So now the next step, we're going to leave that mesh for the top layer. We're going to put a layer of ribbon in. So I'm going to make sure that all of my pipe cleaners in front of me are now vertical, where with the mesh, the pipe cleaners were horizontal. The reason being that the ribbon's going in horizontally. Okay. All right, so let's get started with some of this ribbon. What you're going to do is take your bundle of all the ribbons you're going to use per pipe cleaner, and you're going to gather it in the center where it was creased. And on the bottom layer, for sure, I always take the ribbons and point them in a V, upside down V towards me before I put them in the frame. Why am I doing that? Because that helps the ribbon stay pointed to the outer edge. The outer edge is all that's going to be seen on the lower level of the mesh, lower layer of the mesh, because we're going to come in with another layer of mesh and another layer of ribbons. So this is just accent that you're going to see from the outside. So I'm going to twist the pipe cleaner tight and low 1, 2, 3 is standard, and then I'm going to take the rest of it and twist it in an upward fashion, twist it towards the ceiling, and cut anything over 1 inch off and throw it in the trash. Tuck that stub in because no one's going to see up here. It doesn't have to look pretty, it just needs to be secure. And now I'm going to spread out my ribbons in the pattern that I want. I am going to do purple on the inside, green on the outside with this side, but then on the other side I'm going to flip the narrative. I'm going to pull these up, and I'm going to bring the purple down and the green up. That way you see all 3 colors. I hold it in place at the pipe cleaner, pressing it down a little bit to keep it thin, and I just make sure everything is positioned pointing to the outside of the wreath. It may or may not stay where I placed it, but that's why at the very end we go back around and fluff everything. The less you touch it, the better. If you find that your mesh is fraying, as you go along, I always recommend to cut the frays as you're going along so that you don't have to lift things up and move things around to cut them off when you get done. Another thing I wanted to point out, we're skipping one just like we did with the mesh and going to the next. See this pattern ribbon on the top of the bundle? The design is the same in either direction, so it doesn't, no, I lied. This one has the design the same direction on all 3 rows of that wheat looking stuff. So that's what's called directional ribbons. See, these all face the same direction. If this row was facing that way, and this row was facing that way, and this row was facing that way, it wouldn't matter how I put it in because the design would be reversible. But since it's not, I'm going to go every other one with the wheat strands facing this way, and then the other 3 in between them, I'll face the other way. Other examples of directional mesh are directional ribbon, are ribbons that have words on them. Unless the pattern of the sayings on the ribbon go both ways, again, you're going to want to keep an eye out for that. You're either going to want to have them go all one way, or you can do what I did, every other. And you can only do every other. There is an exception to it. Not every time can you do that. This style of wreath has an even number of pipe cleaners on the inside ring and an even number of pipe cleaners on the outside ring. So you can do it where it's every other. That way one direction of the ribbon will not be next to another one that's exactly the same. There are bigger wreath forms out there that are not like this, that have odd numbered twist ties or pipe cleaners on them. And then if you try to do 2 different designs in your, this is one design, that one and this one, and then these are another, you're going to have 2 right next to each other. Now, it's not the end of the world if that happens. I usually can and will do it on a wreath where I have a bow to the side of the sign. Like if I had the sign here and I did a big bow here, it wouldn't be as important to make sure that they're not next to each other, the same ones, because the bow's going to hide that. But otherwise, especially when I only have enough to do half of the ribbon tails of each ribbon, words are hard sometimes, it allows me to finish up rolls of ribbon if I don't have enough to do the whole wreath, where I do it every other. That's another reason you would do every other in your ribbon choices. If you don't do wreath making all the time, you'd be surprised, maybe not, how often people do that. Because very, very often when you're making wreaths, you have leftover supplies. And that kind of segues into the fact that when I do the kits, I'm able to keep the prices down because I can give you an extra of each piece of each product and not a bunch of extra. That keeps the price down on the kit. And I can usually make a standard storm door style wreath, pancake wreath, you can make 2 wreaths out of 1 roll of ribbon because they're 10 yards, and the rest for bows, or if I'm making multiples like with kids, you know, the 2.5, so the half off of 2 rolls makes another wreath. So that way I can keep the prices of the kits down. So now we're doing the other 3, so now they have to face that way based on what I'm choosing to do here. And I'm keeping these pretty flat on this lower level because the other mesh, ribbon, and sign are going to be on top of them, so that there's no point in trying to put a lot of curl into them. You should, though, get these little bubbles up at the top from the gathers. Depends on how well you gather them, how big of bubbles you get. You should take those out no matter what. Tuck that in. Alright, let's get this set up. I love this color combination. I may have to order the sign to make for myself. Oop, in the middle, Marguerite, in the middle. I was looking at the sign and it got totally distracting. I'm really excited about this one. I don't know, I'm pretty excited about most of them, so I really shouldn't say I'm really excited about this one. Okay, 2 more on this layer. So it's going to go that way. The other 2 are solid color ribbons, so I don't have to worry about what direction they're facing. See how that one's creeping up already? I shouldn't touch it until I get done with the whole wreath. Some habits are hard to break. Okay. Alright. Tighten low, then about 1 inch on the twist. Cutting the excess off, tucking that little stub in there. You don't have to tuck it all the way in. You could just lay it down so that it's facing the inside of the wreath. No one is going to see that once everything's built up. And it's always important to pull your ribbons up and away from the base of the pipe cleaners so that you get the maximum flexibility in the ribbon to place it where you want it. I found that to be very helpful. Otherwise, you're having to cut your ribbon even longer to get it to come out to the edge of the wreath. You don't want to use too much ribbon. Anytime you do that, that raises the price. So we want to keep these storm door style wreaths affordable for our customers if it's for a customer. Or ourselves. There's no sense in wasting money, right? I didn't even look, and I made sure. Yep, that's the right direction. Okay. Just ignore me sometimes. I like to talk to myself. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to cut that off. Some people wait till they get all of the ribbons and the twist ties, the pipe cleaners, before they cut them off. I find that for me, I'm less likely to get to cut one if I do it as I go. Don't be afraid of the ribbon. You can be a little aggressive as long as it's not fused ribbon. Fused ribbon is where they've taken like 2 or 3 different colors and there's a fuse in it. If you pull that too hard, sometimes you can separate the ribbon and you don't want to do that. So you might want to be a little more careful with that kind. Okay. So this is the base, and now we're going to go back and pull the pipe cleaners up between each 2 pieces of mesh from that inner row, and we're going to immediately fold them out in the position we need them in. One last thing to do later when you've got a handful of mesh. This is very Velcro-y. This mesh right here, I love it because it's thick, but it really sticks to things more than others. Some people really hate this thicker mesh. I just think it holds the gathers better. It's got fabric in it, but it is predominantly got a plastic material. Polyethylene, I believe is how you pronounce it. We all have our words that we have. I know a lot of people can't say aluminum and cinnamon. Polypropylene, I think, is my word. I think I'm getting it right. Okay, so now it's time to put the last 6 pieces of mesh in our frame. And then after that, we have to decide if we're going to put the other ribbon in first and then the sign, or vice versa. We'll talk about that when we get closer to it. But see how having all of my materials prepped ahead of time makes life so much easier? Just flying through this. Often I'll make anywhere from 8 to 10 wreaths a day when it gets to the busy season. So I'm known to, I'll fix that in a minute. I didn't put them all flat. What's wrong with me talking? I'm sure that's what it was. Oh, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, I was talking about how often I'll make 8 to 10 wreaths a day in the storm door style. Not the big fluffy ones. I can't do 10 in a day. I like to sleep. But if in the busier season, I will often have anywhere from 50 to 75 kits pre-cut for me for my purposes to make product for my shops. Because nothing's worse than the panic that comes with finishing a show and doing really well, which is the awesome part, and having to make a product really quick. I remember the first year after we moved here to Southwest Nebraska, I booked so many shows because I was new and I thought I could handle it all. I can, but I'd rather not ever do what I did that first year again. I was literally coming home and spending days just getting restocked in the shop, just killing myself. And you don't want to do that. It needs to stay fun. So I learned that in January, after the holidays were over, they weren't over for me from a designer perspective. I prepped, I think I had 78 kits that year, pre-made. So when I went into season, I dropped a few shows because some of them were not very, I didn't have great performance. You have to go and learn. But it was so much easier that next year and ever since because I do that. Oh man. Plus I make kits for the DIY videos that I post here on YouTube. And sometimes they don't all sell out. So I can go into my Etsy shop and offer multiples of the same wreath. I just don't do it too much because you want uniqueness and creativity in your projects. So I've got 2. I'm going to this one. Again, I'm hoping you notice that I skipped every other one. And if you have any questions about where I got my materials, I can give you that information. Just comment or message me through the page, and I'll get you that information. And some of the vendors that I use, I will put, if they're not brick and mortars, I will put links to them in my description section of the YouTube video. And just for full transparency, if I put the web address for those companies, I am affiliate, so that means I get a little thank you for sending you to them. So, yeah. We are a community. We support each other, do everything we can to make everybody successful. There's no such thing as too many wreath makers. I've never been at a show where I didn't sell anything because there were other wreath makers, because we all have different styles. Some people only make grapevines, some people only make storm door wreaths. You know, just some only do pine bases. I've been at shows where there's been as many as 5 vendors and we all had a great show. One of my mentors back in the beginning, and they've said it many times since then, when someone says there's too many of something, you remind them of the bread aisle. right? How many different breads are there on the bread aisle? And they all sell. Everybody has different tastes. So to have more variety allows people of different tastes to participate in purchasing in some beautiful handmade home decor. Oh, there's the other one. I'll just use this now so I don't forget. I didn't want to cut any extras, so I'm going to use this. No wasting of product unless absolutely necessary. So I'm going to bring that in there. But yeah, how many choices are there in the bread aisle or the soda aisle? Everything. There's room for everybody and everything. Right? Alright, let's get that on there. And that one on there. There's a little bit too much on this side, so I'm going to hold it from the pipe cleaner and pull it at the base of the pipe cleaner to make it more rounded. You can also take the outside edge of your mesh and turn it under if you want. Gives it a little bit more connection because this will stick to the other mesh that way. Okay, this one's gone into hiding. Come back. Come out. Get that positioned and ready. And we're going to use the last. See how curly that is compared to the first few pieces I used? Let's see how it just kind of rolls up. That's why I use the edge of the table. I haven't found that it snags it. And that holds it down. If that's not enough, I usually take my phone or anything heavier to hold at that end till I get there to hold it down if it's super curly and just doesn't want to stay in place. Because that can be really distracting when you're trying to gather your mesh. And see, I'm also putting my hand down there. That helps to hold it down a lot. Okay, got that set to go. Let's put that in there. And we will be done with the mesh. Tight and low 2 to 3 times. Bring it up in the air and out of the way. Take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. That one's in the way, so let's put that back down. Bring this outside edge over this inside edge. I said it backwards, but I did it correctly. And now I'm going to stand because I think, I'm pretty confident. Let me take a look. Move all these pipe cleaners out of the way. And I always make sure I have a pipe cleaner at 12 o'clock in the 6 o'clock position. That way I can make sure that I have my center. That's my center. And you can either put the sign on first and then do the ribbon tails on top of it. Or you can put the ribbon tails before the sign. When it's a round sign, I usually put the ribbon on the outside on top of the sign. But like one of my tutorials, I have a happy birthday wreath tutorial coming out, if it hasn't out already. That's got a shape. It's a tree. It's a cake with candles and a base, a pedestal. So if I put the ribbon on top of the sign, you'd miss the candles and the pedestal. They'd all be covered. So in that wreath, all of the ribbon is underneath of the sign. Okay, so here's my favorite tool. This is called a plastic embroidery needle. This one's 6 inches long. I use that to help me get the sign pipe cleaners through everything to the back of the wreath without cussing or getting mad. Because doing it manually with your hands, you can do it, no problem. I did it for years till I discovered this through another maker. Just takes a lot of the stress out of trying to get it through. So I just put it in. Since I have pipe cleaners at 12, 6, 3, and 9, I put the 12 and 6 in first. And I'm going to put that needle through the mesh. I tend to bring things off the table when I do this. Bring it all the way through the mesh. Put the tip of the pipe cleaner through the needle, fold it over so it stays on the needle, and I pull it through all of the product. Just make sure you're not putting it through the ribbon. That will damage the ribbon. So then I turn it. As you see, I bring everything to me instead of Straining my back. I'm also making sure that the needle goes into the mesh through to the back a little bit under the sign so that the pipe cleaner doesn't end up visible when you see the wreath from the side. Now you would say, why would you worry about seeing it from the side, Marguerite? Well, when they open the door, we want it to look good from every direction. It's a sign of a quality piece of product. So I'm going to twist the pipe cleaners on those two onto the frame till it's completely wrapped around and have the tip down into the wreath so that there's no sharp points stabbing and scratching the person's door this is for, who takes it home. And I always do 2 and then I go back and do the other 2. When I get it turned over, I'll explain to you why. First of all, it helps position it. Second of all, it helps you from causing the sign to be cockeyed, meaning higher on one side and lower on the other. If you do it in an X pattern, you do one here, then you go back and do the other 2. You don't have nearly the difficulties of that happening, okay? So this is going to go here, bringing it off the table a little bit so I can put it all the way through, or just lift it up like this if you're working right on the table. Now you can sit and stand or stand to do this, just like the rest of the wreath. You can sit or stand. I'm up and down because of certain issues. You do what's best for you. And if you're not sure your sign is centered, I'll give you a little tip for that. Take a picture of it with your camera on your phone. You get a different perspective than you do with the naked eye. Turn it over. You notice I held the sign, and I'm not turning the sign or the wreath on the table. I'm lifting it up to turn it so that I don't scratch that sign. All right, I got a couple frays back here. Let's take care of that before I do the other one. Frays are inevitable. You'll never avoid them entirely. There are techniques to minimize it, but it's not a perfect science. I'm going to lift this up and turn it to me instead of straining my back. Put that on there. I'm almost done. The point is down into the wreath. There's one more I missed. It's because I turned it. 2. Unless you're handling any of this product, there we are. The better, the less likely you're gonna fray anything more than it already is. I don't need that anymore. I'm gonna go ahead. I always, when I have a round wreath, round sign I should say, I always do 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock last. So I'm gonna come around the edge. I'm gonna use this one first because it's part of my 12. But on the top layer, I'm not going to do that inverted V. I want to make like a starburst design. I just have to make sure I'm not covering any of the words. That pipe cleaner is vertical, so I can put this in. Tight and low 2 to 3 times, just like always. And then I have a decision to make on how I want to place the pipe cleaners. I could do what I did on the bottom layer where I twisted it up. This time I would say closer to 2 inches of a twist, cut the excess off and tuck it back behind the ribbon so that all you see is a little bitty nub. Like that. You can put embellishments on there, glue embellishments on there if you want. I'm not. My favorite is to do it this way. But first, I'm going to position my ribbon. I like to do the pipe cleaners last. So we're going to do, I think I'm going to do the green against the sign since there's so much purple. I could do every other where the green faces the outside. And then the every other as well where the purple is facing inside. But there's so much purple going on. I'm going to choose to have the green next to the sign in every case. And don't forget, we have to keep cognizant of the fact that the design on this goes that way. So that means the design on this should go this way. Okay. Did you see that? Yeah. You could even do it both, like this. See where just like on the bottom, it goes both ways. Maybe that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do that. I really like how that looks, instead of making them exactly the same. Always be open to changing things in the middle of it all. Okay. I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to put that away. I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to put that away. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to make sure both sides of the pipe cleaner, and I put that away prematurely. I'm going to make sure both sides of the pipe cleaner are even. It's just my thing. And then I'm going to take one side and roll it on this little dowel or a pen or pencil if you don't have a dowel. And you can either lay it flat there like that, which is what I'm going to do, or you can pull it out to make it like a little curlicue. I don't think that's appropriate for this design to have that really whimsical look. I'm going to stick with rolling it around the dowel and putting it right down there in the center. It makes a solid base too if you're hot gluing any embellishments in the center there. I'm not, but there are a lot of cute buttons and things out there, especially at places like Hobby Lobby that are a religious-based company. So I'm going to do that one. And the buttons that I like to use have a shank on the back. If you watch my sunflower wreath tutorial from the spring of 2024, you'll see how I use buttons. But the shank goes over the pipe cleaner. You twist it all and tuck it under the ribbon, and you have a cute little button there. I just didn't get to it this year to buy any. So this is the opposite. Those go this way, this goes that way, which is every other. So that's how it's going to go in there. Keeping that little bit of a starburst design, flare, whatever you want to call it. 1, 2, 3. And you want it, it's up to you how much of the mesh you want to cover. But I like to make sure everything is seen no matter what. It has an attitude, it's going to hide, it's going to give you fits sometimes, but that's okay. So now over here, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to lift these up, bring the purple towards me, the green towards the sign, and I almost want to say it looks like wheat, the design. Pardon me. So that means on this side, the purple will go towards the inside of the wreath. The green will go towards the outside, okay? That's staying consistent on all 6 of these. All right, let's go ahead and make sure these are the same length. Yep. Sometimes it happens. It's just how you twist it when you're putting the mesh on, how much shorter the pipe cleaner is on from one side to the other. Okay. Get that in there. Like I said, don't go out and buy these. You have pens and pencils in your home. You can just use that. That's the diameter you're looking for. All right, so I've done that side. We're skipping 12 and 6 o'clock, so I'm going to come over here. And since I did that before that, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So that means the design went that way. So it's going to go that way here. So it's also going to go the same way as that one. Put those out vertical. Gather your ribbon. Put it in the pipe cleaner tight and low 2 to 3 times. Put them up in the air. See, the way I use that one, there's a fairly decent sized difference. Okay, so let's flare this out so it'll be exactly the same as that one. So, purple down, green up, and design in the middle. Pop those bubbles out, get them placed. And on this side is the opposite. Lift the top 2 up, purple up. You notice I'm running my fingers over the ribbon as I go to get any wrinkles out, anything I can. the bubbles and to make sure that I've got a little bit of floof in there, a little bit of curl. Not too much, but with the way this is built, any way you look at it, it's going to look good behind a screen or storm door because of the way it lays. It won't look smashed because it's under 4 inches. So this is that way. I need to turn it around, gather it up, put it in that pipe cleaner that's vertical to me, tight and low 2 to 3 times. Okay, I'm going to spread this out, green up, purple down on this side. And you'll notice I'm not reaching across the table to put everything in. I'm turning it as I go. That's the key to minimize back strain. So on this side, the purple goes up, green goes down, pull those bubbles out. Check the length. You don't have to make sure they're exactly the same length. Just, that's how I roll. I like to keep things, I'm trying to think of the word, consistent. It's not the word I'm looking for, but it's also true. All right, so now that's what we have so far. Whoop, there we are. All right, these two are overlapping the sign a little bit. This one's not, these two. So now I'm going to do 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and these bundles will lay nicely over the side bundles. Okay, so those went that way, so up, down, up, down, up. Let me look at it. Left, so this would be right, left. Did I do this one wrong? No, that's correct. My eyes are playing tricks on me. Nothing we couldn't recover from if I had to take a bundle out and turn it. 2, 3. Pop those bubbles out. And we're going to go with lifting, purple down, green up, pattern in the middle. I got a little rough there. Calm yourself, Marguerite. Okay. Pulling it a little bit helps with the aggressions each day too, actually. Take it out on the ribbon, but not too hard. Okay. Pulling that way we get it loose all the way up to the pipe cleaner. Okay. Now, I didn't remember to do that. Let's fix that after we get this one. I think I got sidetracked by trying to figure out which way the wheat looking print was going. I'm easily distracted apparently. Need to fix that. And I always roll the pipe cleaner towards the inside of the wreath, towards the sign, and the pipe cleaner towards the outside of the wreath. I roll it towards the outside of the wreath on the dowel. It's just me. Alright, and I got to remember on this last one, I want to show you a trick to make sure that you get a nice curl on your ribbon too. Okay, so that went that way. So this goes this way. Why am I questioning myself? Ugh. This is why I try to avoid directional ribbon. 1, 2, 3. Lift it up. Alright, I'm going to position them where I want them first. Lift and separate. Lift and separate. But instead of using my hands to curl it, I'm going to take that dowel under the ribbon and use that to help me get a nice curl, and it straightens out your wire as well. See how I did that? Makes it much poofier. So if you're not putting this behind a screen or a storm door, of course you can put it anywhere. But if you put it elsewhere, you can make it really super fluffy. I'm going to put it back down because this is not the goal today. We want it to look like a storm door wreath, because that's what it is. You just need to know you have options. Alright, I got everything in place. I'm going to fix this pipe cleaner, twist that around the dowel, place it in the center there, and this on the opposite side. And then I'm going to get up again, take a look at everything, make sure I'm not hiding my words, making sure all my ribbon is where I want it to be, and it's all being seen. As much of the mesh is covered as I can get it to cooperate and do. And then I'm going to go around on the bottom layer. I'm just going to lift the mesh. You don't just pull on the ribbon. Lift the mesh to move your ribbon out to the outer edge, nice and straight, so it's all visible. Go to the next one, get that out there, lift that mesh and bring the purple out here. This side is green, this side is purple, green, purple, never just tug on the ribbon if it's stuck to the mesh. Get that mesh lifted up and out of the way. I might be repeating myself. Okay. And there it is. That looks, what am I looking at, this side? I think that's good. You can always take a picture of it with your phone to make sure everything looks positioned right. I always do that before I shoot pictures too. I usually take a picture and then decide if I need to make adjustments. So, there you have it. Alright, well now you see how we put this beautiful wreath together. It was really pretty simple. This will be available in my shop at Etsy. All the information will be down in the description. If it's sold out, please feel free to message me, and I will see if I can still get more of the signs. The signs are always the issue, but I can't guarantee Easter delivery at this point because it takes some time for the ordering of the sign. This turned out to be a 20-inch wreath. Wait. From tip to tip, it's about 23, 24 inches wide. Because I did do the longer ribbon tails. They're 13 to 14 inches long. I can't remember which at this point. But if I put it on the table like this, it's only 4 inches deep. That allows us to put that on a screen on your door, but with a screen or a storm door as well. It won't be crushed, which is great. This could certainly go anywhere. This would be great to put in the lobby area or even the sanctuary of your church. This is a great gift idea for family and friends during the season, as well as using for christenings and any other places you can think of, nursing homes. If you have a Christian school, this would be great to display there as well. It's really up to you where you put it, but it's just a beautiful addition to your home decor for the most important part of the holiday season for us. I thank you, pardon me, I thank you for joining me today while I made this beautiful wreath. I know you have plenty of things that you could be doing with your time, and the fact that you spend time here with me is much appreciated, absolutely. Feel free to ask questions. Use the YouTube account to send me a message, or if you like what you see, you can subscribe to the channel for free and go to my Facebook page and join there as well. I have content there that is the same and different than what you see here, but it's another way to find out what I'm doing and where I'm doing it. I do a tutorial every Sunday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, God willing. You can see all sorts of content on the page if you subscribe. And like I said, on the Facebook page, I notify you of any events I'm doing. That includes every week I give a heads up for the tutorial I'm going to be posting on Sunday. So thanks again. I hope you enjoyed this, and everybody have a great day. See you again soon. Bye.